It's a special edition of our first NBC video update. Lenny Vangilder, Ken Trahan with you as we look ahead to tonight's Semifinal Friday in the Louisiana High School football playoffs. We are down to 4 teams in every class. The 10 winners tonight will be in New Orleans next weekend, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, for the LHSAA State Farm Prep Classic. And Ken, let's start right at the top. Class 5A, the 1, 2, 3 and seeds have held. The one surprise in this is Mandeville, the 13 seed. They've knocked off 4 and 5 in the last 2 weeks. Now they get to make the trip across the causeway to Joe Yenny Stadium to take on the top seed, Archbishop Rummel.
Well, if you're going to play a road game, this is the one to play. You don't have to travel very far. Your fans will be there. It will be packed, and it will be great. It's the second straight year the Skippers are in the semifinals. Guy LeComte does a great job. His team's playing very well, stout defensively, good middle linebacker, very well coached. Glenn Cloutier is a good run-pass quarterback. Now, they throw the ball 70% of the time, so they'll spread you out, and they have a very good receiver in Zach Boudreaux. Rummel just continues to be consistently good. Very good win on the road against a very good Ouachita Parish team last week. They showed mettle in coming back to win that game in the fourth quarter, then getting a late stop to win the game. They'll get their center back, it looks like, Pierce Bonk, who missed last week's game with pneumonia. Otherwise, they're healthy, and they're at home, and the expectations are there. Maybe a slight edge to Rummel, but not much. These two teams play very close games if you look at the history of the series.
Yeah, a crazy game a couple of years ago, a 42-41 an overtime game that was a wild one. And the interesting thing with Rummel in my mind, this is really this last week was the first close game they've been in. Every other game this year, yeah, the Jesuit game was a one-point game going into the fourth quarter, but they drew away in the fourth quarter. This was the first game decided by single digits the entire year, and Rummel handled the test very well, so it'll be interesting to see if they face another one this week. The other side of the bracket, you got 2 against 3. West Monroe has to make the long trip from Monroe down to Lake Charles to take on Barb. Been monitoring the health situation of Don Shows, maybe more so than any of the injury situation. It's, certainly wishing him the best, but, these two teams, no surprise that they're meeting in the semifinals on this side.
Well, what you need to monitor is the likes of Trey Quinn, Kenan Fontenot, and Deshaun Smith, all big-time Division I players for Barb. Best offense in the state in any class. They can score on anybody, anytime, from anywhere. West Monroe will slow them down a little bit because they're that good defensively, but Barb can score, and they're at home. So this is going to be a tougher game than people think, I do believe. West Monroe is West Monroe. They're physical. They run the ball at you. They have a big offensive line that's very good. Mims is a solid quarterback, and defensively they just get after you. How much of a difference will it be with Shows not on the sideline? Well, that's going to make a difference. He missed time earlier this season, and one of those games was when Calvary Baptist beat West Monroe. So this figures to be a very good game. Look, you got to go with chalk here because you've got to go with West Monroe until somebody proves they can beat them. But this one's on the road. This will be another good game. I think both games will be good.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Rummel West Monroe is what I expect to see in the finals, and obviously I think you expect to see the same thing as well, although I expect 2 very competitive games. You look ahead now to Class 4A, McDonough 35, the surprise of this bracket, a 23 seed making a huge run through the bracket, and they are now set to face the top seed, the Neville Tigers, on the road in Monroe. Certainly the biggest challenge they have had to face here in a very successful playoff run for Wayne Reese's team.
Well, they faced him in 2009 in the regional round and lost in overtime in New Orleans in a game that 35 should have won. Neville went on to win the state championship. Last year, the same 2 teams played at Neville in the regional round, and Neville clocked them 50-8. So clearly, 35 is going to have to close the gap significantly to have a chance. It's a tough road. Carlos Henderson's playing fantastic. They've got nothing to lose, but still, Neville looks to me to be too good at home to overcome in this game.
Then a very interesting local matchup on the other side of the bracket. Holy Cross in the semifinals for the first time in 45 years. Heads across the river, across the CCC to Berman Stadium, where it figures to be packed again this Friday night as Holy Cross takes on Edna Carr.
Tremendous story for Holy Cross. First time since 1967 in the round of 4. Great tradition. And when you ponder where they've come from, where they nearly lost their school and had to come back from Katrina, start over again in trailers on the old campus, which was wrecked, rebuild a brand new beautiful campus, and build up their programs to get to this level, it's very special. That's the good news. The bad news is they're playing Edna Carr, who's a tremendous football team. Jabbar Jalouk's done a great job of building a real powerhouse. This team's been to the Dome 2 straight years. They have no perceivable weakness. They're fast, they're big, they're deep, And other than that, they've got nothing. And they're at home, by the way. So Holy Cross will have to play a near-perfect game to have a chance to win this game. You certainly have to like Carr as the favorite going in.
Yeah, certainly Neville and Carr are the favorites, and if that ends up being the game in the Dome next Saturday, that may end up being the best and most anticipated of the state championship games, but they've got to play the games on the field. 3A is the one spot we do not have a Southeast Louisiana team or the team from our immediate area in the field. Livonia, Parkview Baptist, Parkview the 1 seed, Notre Dame, East Feliciana. On the other side, East Feliciana, the Cinderella story, if you will, in this bracket.
Yeah, Parkview Baptist got scared, nearly beaten a couple of weeks ago. We said it at the time. I think that was good for them. It really pushed them. That's the one game that got their focus and got their attention, and clearly they came back and won huge last week. And Livonia has been a very good story. They're in that neck of the woods as well, so the people in the Baton Rouge area are very excited about this, and Livonia has done a really good job of getting to this point. Certainly have to like the Eagles of Parkview Baptist to win this game. And then, of course, in the other matchup, Notre Dame is Notre Dame. They're just a solid football team. They play good football all the time. Louis Cook's one of the best coaches in the state, and they played a tough schedule. East Feliciana's Cinderella. They got Kendall Beckwith. He's probably the best athlete in the state, and he's carried them this far. They are truly a team that's got nothing to lose. And they're going to go into this game and I think play very well and compete very well, but I certainly have to like the Pios to win it.
We jump down to 2A, and this is the one bracket that the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds have made it to the semifinals. The number 1 seed, John Curtis, has rolled up until now. They will face the 4 seed Springfield at Musbertolino tonight. And then the other game may be, in my mind, as good a game as there is on the Friday night card, and that's University Lab at Evangel.
Well, as I wrote in my blog, it's an overused axiom, but this is David and Goliath when it comes to Springfield and Curtis in the truest sense. Springfield had never been to the quarterfinals before Ryan Surpass got them there last week, and they won over Manny, and here they are in the semifinals for the first time, and they're playing at Musbertolino against Curtis. And what's really interesting is that Surpass is running an option-style attack, and he said the one school he studied significantly when he put this in was John Curtis. Why not? So they've done a tremendous job rushing for over 3,300 yards this year. Shaq Smith's a really good quarterback running their offense. And then, of course, there's Curtis. And, again, we say it all the time, but what else can you say other than the fact that they have no weaknesses? They are a tremendous football team, and I don't see any way that they're going to lose to anybody in this class regardless of what transpires.
And on the other side, we mentioned University Lab Evangel, a 2-3 matchup there. It's going to be a pretty good football game, even though the folks from Baton Rouge have to make the long trip up to Shreveport.
Well, I mean, the story here is that University has to go to Shreveport for the second straight week. So you talk about difficult. And they went up there and beat Calvary Baptist last week, who's a very good football team. Now they're going back to play Evangel. I saw Evangel play Carver this past Saturday. They're every bit as good offensively as they've ever been. Maybe not quite as good on the defensive side. And University has the skill and the size to match Evangel, but they're traveling. This is truly a juggle the balls, jump ball type of game. And in a hedge, I'll go with the Eagles at home in a very, very close matchup. But it would not surprise me to see ULAB win this game.
Yeah, wouldn't either, certainly. We get down to 1A finally, and while we have 5 and 6 seeds in here in the bracket, Kentwood and West St. John are no surprises to be where they are, although they both have to travel this week. Kentwood to Ouachita Christian, West St. John to Haynesville.
Yeah, Kentwood's an underclassman-laden team, and they're really talented. You can read about them on SportsNoah.com and talking to David Career, who last won a state title in 1998. It's hard to believe that it's been that long for Coach Career and the Kangaroos, although they've gotten back to the Dome since, just haven't won one. So here they are on the road, and they've got to face the defending champion Eagles of Ouachita Christian. Clearly, OCS is the favorite. They're at home. I've seen some people pick this as a 30-point game. I don't see that. I think this is a competitive game. I certainly like OCS to win at home. Kentwood is good enough to get to the Dome, but they got a bad draw. They may be a year away from winning it all, but they're very good, and I would be surprised if they don't compete well in this game. As for West St. John, they're on the road at Haynesville. They had to go to Haynesville last year, and they beat them by a touchdown in a very tough defensive battle. This game might shake out the same way. Many of the same players. And I really think the same result. Even though it's a long trip for the Rams, they're really good. Jeremy Jackson, Kylan Favorite, very good 1-2 combination. Running the ball, Austin Howard's very good at quarterback. They play good defense. They've been there. They won't be intimidated by the Haynesville lure. Second most state championships in Louisiana prep history to John Curtis. that's the Golden Tornado of Haynesville, but I like West St. John.
I agree with you on that one as well. It is the one upset that I really see coming out of this. Some of those 2-3s that, maybe not necessarily call them upsets. This would clearly be a 6 over a 2. I think that would probably qualify as one. Don't forget, the only place to really keep up with what's going on tonight in the Louisiana high school football semifinals is right here at sportsnola.com. We've got streaming audio of Ken Trahan's original Prep Football Report right here, where we will have play-by-play coverage of the Rummel Mandeville game, updates from the other 9 games around the state. There is no other place you want to be than right here at sportsnola.com to get your coverage. Ken, enjoy your Friday night. I know this is as good a time of year as there is for you.
It is. Look forward to it, Lenny. Thank you.
And we'll see you next week with more of our first NBC video updates here at sportsnola.com.